Hello and welcome to the 329th edition of the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast. In Nashville, Tennessee, I'm Matt Perkins. And a flea flicker across the Harpeth River from me here in the Music City, it's our own offensive coordinator, the coach, Corey Burton.
Happy portal season and happy coaching carousel season to everybody. I don't know if those two words go together, but it will get interesting, and it will get interesting for Buster Faulkner as we go.
Yeah, friend of the show, Buster Faulkner, who after a very impressive performance by that Georgia Tech offense against Georgia this past weekend for the Yellow Jackets, definitely will have his name in the mix for a couple of the jobs that we will be talking about here later today on our annual Black Monday Coaching Carousel episode. But we can't get started without the third amigo in the second city, a man who is more successful at running out of tunnels than Brent Venables. It's our intrepid blogger from Big Ten and Counting, Josh Cook.
How's it going? I'm back on the mainland after an epic week in Hawaii. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back, Josh. Glad to have you here. Glad to have everyone tuning in as part of the Believe Network and MikeFarrellSports.com here on Illegal Motion. Before we hop into our coaching carousel and our preview of the conference title games, want to remind everyone tuning in that we are presented by BetOnline.ag, where they continue to be your number one source for all of your online sports wagering needs. You name it, they've got it over there at BetOnline. Head on over to the website, use your mobile device to sign up today to receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit with our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV. Bet online where the game starts. All right, guys, it's one of our favorite, maybe it's a morbidly curiosity favorite kind of show of the year that we do here on Black Monday after coaches have been fired and hired, and we're getting into the thick of coaching carousel season. We've got 13 jobs we're going to run down today. First one is going to be real quick, though, because we already touched on it last week, where Northwestern went ahead and took that interim tag off of David Braun after they did it even before this, these last couple of weeks, but he finishes his first season at 7-5. And Josh, I will say before the season, you had Northwestern finishing way better than either coach or I expected to. I am assuming that you are a fan of this move for the Wildcats.
Yeah, I think just the weekly preparation of this team was better. At the end of the Fitz era, the defense was all over the map, and excuse me, and the offense was dreadful. Every Northwestern fan wanted the offensive coordinator fired. Well, Braun didn't have time to change any of the staff, and the offense was still pretty bad, but not as epically bad as it was at the end of the Fitz run. The team just looked prepared every week. Obviously, those players worked their butts off for him. That's such a big part of, I think, the reason to hire him. I think if they had played well going 5-7, they still probably would have kept him. Making the bowl to get to 6 wins, then beating Illinois to get to 7, guaranteeing a winning record was just icing on the cake. But, with what the program went through, what Fitz is accused of, having some semblance of normalcy and an easy transition is definitely what the program needed. Will it work out? Who knows? But signs were pretty encouraging this year.
Yeah, signs were definitely encouraging this year for this Northwestern team. And while they took a hit, I think, in recruiting a little bit, in terms of guys that they had committed and, have flipped commitments since the departure of Pat Fitzgerald, I think they're going to be just fine. They're never a huge recruiting team. They've always been more of a development team. So I don't see it being a huge issue there. Now, let's stick in the Big Ten, though, because Michigan State, after parting ways with Mel Tucker because he couldn't keep it in his pants during the season, they have gone to the polar opposite of Mel Tucker, which is Jonathan Smith of Oregon State. Now, they lured him away from his alma mater because they can't keep a conference in the same way that Tucker can't keep it in his pants. So Jonathan Smith, though, will be getting a nice pay increase in a more prestigious conference, a Big Ten over the Pac-2 at this point.
Yeah, so not an overly tough decision on leaving Oregon State. I wish it wasn't Michigan State because they're just kind of a mess as a university. But I mean, they found a gem in Jonathan Smith. I love this.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to say, I think that he did an really outstanding job. Even if you look at someone just look at his record, he's 34-35. He lost one less than 50% of his games in the Pac-12. But considering how bad they were after Gary Anderson, and
he had him ranked in the top 10 at one point.
I know, and I think it's a coup for Michigan State, and honestly, I think it might be my favorite hire so far out of any of the ones that have happened yet, Coach. But do you have anything more there on Jonathan Smith? Do you think that's a good fit for Michigan State and for Smith?
I think anywhere is a good fit for Jonathan Smith, man. I think what he brings to the table, just with the overall program management and getting especially programs that have a lot of adversity. Like when he got to Oregon State, to say that thing was a mess is an understatement. And he pulled it together. I mean, it was a rough go for a minute there, but he pulled it together and put together a really good program that recruits well, plays clean, well respected. Got the fans back engaged. They were able to do some renovations because of the direction the program was going. So, I mean, this is, I say all that stuff about Michigan State. This is just what they need. This might be the perfect hire to get them back up off the mat after the Mel Tucker experience.
It's a coup for Michigan State. It's an F for Jonathan Smith. Trying to think of a good analogy. This is like going all in with a three of a kind, when if he'd wait another hand or two, he was going to get a full house, because there's going to be some more jobs that come open. We think it's quite possible that Lincoln Riley will bolt if he can get an NFL gig. There's still tons and tons and tons of smoke around Chip Kelly. So Jonathan Smith, if he's waited,
they said he's coming back for a 7th season.
If Jonathan Smith had waited a little bit longer, he's from California. He knows the former Pac-12, but he knows that region of the country so much better. Michigan State, where is it in terms of a Big Ten job right now with all that it went through? Mel Tucker basically didn't recruit for 2 years. This is going to be one of the tougher rebuilds in the Power Five, and he has no connection to the area. He has no connection to the state. Why? Why would you leave your alma mater? This is going to sound crazy, but you hang out at Oregon State for a year. You maybe have a Luke Fickell type moment where you run through whatever schedule Oregon State has next year. They go, let's say they go 12-0, make the playoffs or something. This is insane. I mean, where is Michigan State in the Big Ten? In the original, not even adding the California schools and Washington and Oregon, out of the 14 jobs, not as good as Michigan, not as good as Ohio State, not as good as Penn State. I don't think it's as good as Wisconsin due to the rebuild. Iowa, stable, great resources, wonderful opportunity at Iowa. So then what do we got? Josh, Nebraska. Nebraska is so hungry. Nebraska, you saw what they paid Matt Rule.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think Minnesota's a better job.
So Minnesota could easily be a better job. So we're talking the 8th best job?
Maybe.
And now you're going to add in Washington, Oregon, UCLA, USC. Now we're up to the 12th best job. 12. Coach, you're the SEC expert. This would be like if Jonathan Smith took the Vandy job.
I wouldn't go that far. It's probably
it's more like South Carolina.
I would say it's more like South Carolina.
This is,
or Arkansas.
Good for him. He's getting a bag, but man, you talk about premature abagulation. That's
Hey.
Yeah,
well,
I don't know. I don't know if I was Jonathan Smith if I would have jumped on it quite as early, but I know Michigan State got a really good one. I know on their side of it, they should be excited, and I think he'll end up doing a good job there. And we'll probably look back on this and go, well, he is we're gonna be nicknamed the janitor because he just is a pro at cleaning up messes.
Well, he leaves a definite mess out there in Corvallis because they are conferenceless. They are really up in the air. Now, a couple names have been bandied about as people to possibly replace him. Brian Harsin, I've heard. Former Wisconsin coach Paul Christ, who was on staff there for a while, who I personally don't think is honestly that motivated to become a head coach ever again because he hates recruiting. Like, who do you see taking this job? Because this is a misfit, Josh, right now.
Yeah, Jonathan Smith came in with just high football IQ, but no head coaching experience. I think that's what Oregon State should look for. I think that's kind of the trajectory of some of the recent coaching successes we've seen is get the guy that has the high football IQ. These retread hires, Jimbo Fisher sucked, like.
I hear he's available.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't have the name off the top of my head, but if I'm the athletic director, first of all, I am not hiring a multi-million-dollar firm to spit out a name like Jimbo Fisher for me. Those searching firms always completely suck. The highlight of them has to be Colorado State reaching out to a firm that included talking to Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer got his boy, Steve Adazio, to get that Colorado State job. It was a nightmare. So first of all, you're the athletic director. You got to make the call. Second of all, what I'm going to be looking at are guys that have that reputation that, wow, they are a football mind. And even if they don't have head coaching experience, even if, it's just coordinating experience, or maybe it's FCS experience, I'm looking in that avenue. I'm looking for someone that's hungry because, this is going to be a weird job. We don't know what their schedule is going to be like next year. The courts haven't settled everything. I know right now there's the Pac-2. Sounds like they're working on an arrangement with the Mountain West for some scheduling, but it's going to be truly, truly bizarre. So, they need to have the right fit. I think getting a retread like Paul Chris or Brian Harrison, who basically rubs everyone the wrong way and steals your car, is not who I would hire.
I heard someone put Nick Rolovich's name in there. I was like, what are you talking about? No. Interesting name, Andy Ludwig, who's done very well as the OC at Utah. Probably not going to get a Power 5 head job, but if he wants to make the next step as a head coach, a lot of West Coast ties. And, I bet he is someone who could, probably do as well as, as you could possibly expect in that, given all of the circumstances surrounding that. Well, Josh mentioned Jimbo Fisher. He is out at Texas A&M, and they have brought in Mike Elko, their former defensive coordinator, who, Corey, are you reeling him in like he's a fish? I don't know what we're doing out there.
No, you know how A&M does the whoop, whoop,
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, I try not to really stay too much on that on that cult vibe they got going on there in College Station. But they did get a heck of a coach who turned Duke around in 2 years to 2 winning seasons, which is really, really hard to do at Duke. We know he can coach. We know he's a decent recruiter from his time as a defensive coordinator. He's not getting Jimbo's bag. He's not getting that much money, but he's still getting a nice little nest egg for him and his future generations. And I think it's a solid hire. I think scheme wise, football wise, it makes sense. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if he lasts 3 years there because I feel like Texas A&M fans want more than Mike Elko. I feel like, after the whole Mark Stoops fiasco of them effectively hiring him, getting all the backlash, and then being like, actually, we're not going to fire you, but him claiming he didn't want to, him sort of taking the bullet for that, saying no, he didn't want to leave Kentucky, when that was just a mess over the weekend. I feel like Elko is a better choice than Stoops, but I give it a BB plus here on the hire. I just don't know what Texas A&M ceiling is with all of their larger structural issues and general impatience, Coach. So how do you feel?
I don't like this for Elko. I mean, I love this for A&M. This is great. I think he's really, really good. To me, I think Elko is just an earlier version of Mark Stoops. I mean, just think about it. I mean, they both have done similar things at basketball schools. And I think Mike Elko is in a situation to where he could have been extremely patient at Duke because Duke ain't gonna fire him. That's for sure. He can. I mean, I think he's in a weak conference. He can only get better with time. He could have, if he could have waited, he could have had, a bigger SEC job. And you can sit there and say A&M's a big SEC job, but only in their minds, I think, because I don't see it. Like they've underachieved every single year with Jimbo Fisher. They have these unrealistic expectations, and they give you all these resources. They just throw money at things, and I don't even know that they know what they're throwing money at it sometimes. And it's a very weird culture fit for anybody. It's a weird school, just a weird program. I mean, like I said, they got a great one at Elko. I think they would have done well with Stoops. I'm a huge fan of Mark Stoops. What he's done at Kentucky is in 11 years, in 11 seasons, is awesome. What Elko's done in 2, he was on that same trajectory. I think Mark Stoops may have dodged a bullet. I think Mark Stoops can wait for something else to pop.
Is Texas A&M the biggest little brother that's out there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, this coaching search was a complete fiasco, and I think
it's always something with A&M guys. I mean, it just is.
I think athletic director Russ Bjork he's a ticking time bomb. They couldn't wait to drop him off at the airport fast enough in Oxford when he was Ole Miss's AD. They couldn't stand him. And, what did he do in this coaching search? You fire the guy super early. And I said it on the show with Coach. Matt, you were out that one. I think that's when you were traveling to Madison. I told Coach, I was like, this is kind of weird timing. Like, they must have already had a plan. And I thought for sure the plan was Urban Meyer, because A&M's track record has been the huge mega name coach dating back to like when they pulled, Francione from Alabama, which at the time was a big deal because he had just gone like 10-1 at Alabama. So I thought for sure they were hitting a home run. And then we started to get all this smoke about like Jed Fish. And the rumor is the board of directors approved this offer for Jed Fish, and Bjork went and gave that exact same offer to Stoops. And when Stoops' name hit social media, everyone went insane. And then once they finally make it official. Okay, they got Mike Elko. Bjork then comes out and goes, well, he's not going to have the same budget for the assistant coaching pool that Jimbo had. Why is the athletic director saying this stuff? Why is he's asked about this in a press conference. No. Why is he saying this? This guy is just a walking disaster. I think he's done before Elko's done. I don't know how Bjork survives this unless Elko in that first season has like a 10-win debut.
Which he's good. It's possible. His teams play. I mean, his Duke teams played outstanding. Even when they lost Riley Leonard, they still. I mean, they didn't have much firepower at all, but they still played really, really hard, and really competitively.
Well, let's talk about that Duke team because I don't know where they go from here. This is going to be a weird one. You could tell me a bunch of different names, and nothing would really really surprise me. But this is as much of a shot in the dark. I want a name from each of you would like to see in this job.
I'll give you a weird name, Jason Garrett.
Why? Why would he come back to? Why would he go to? When was the last time he was even in college?
I'm not real sure.
I don't know if he's ever coached in college. Is it just because he went to Princeton and he's supposedly smart, even though he's really like, if you watched him call Monday or whatever it was, like Sunday Night Football this week, it was like one of the hardest things you've ever like put on your earbuds.
It's so weird when his name comes up. I'm like, why?
He is a good agent. That's why he is a good agent.
He's a great agent. But no, a serious name. Well, I mean, Jason Garrett's name has actually been printed in some of these articles. But
good grief.
Kurt Signetti from James Madison, I think would be a great fit for Duke. I don't know if he'd leave James Madison, but I think it'd be a great fit for Duke.
Josh?
I'm going to throw a name out there that I don't think coach is going to like, but they got Mike Elko, SEC defensive coordinator.
You're going to go Glenn Schumann?
I'm going to go Glenn Schumann. He's young, 33. He interviewed for an Eagles job, so we know he's not necessarily in it for life. He's not necessarily going to be Kirby's coach in waiting.
Yeah, I'm hoping we win the Natty this year, get 3 in a row, and then all hell can break loose, I guess.
But I mean, Elko's not 33, but it's it's an echo. It's an echo.
I'd be happy for Glenn Schumann if he pulled the Duke job.
Yeah, I think it would be. I thought you were going to go with. I thought you were going to go with Mike Bobo. I thought you were going to go.
I think Bobo's
you think he's done as a head coach?
Yeah, I think he's done as a head coach. I don't think he wants.
Bobo's Colorado State teams need to be a little bit better.
That's true. That's very true.
They weren't a polished product, and I don't think he was a good enough recruiter to warrant.
I don't know if Kirby now has the coach reclamation project school, like the JUCO version of what Saban does with coaches.
I think he's going to start doing that.
It feels like it.
He's claimed. I think he claimed Tommy Streeter from Clemson. He got fired. So
okay.
A name I'm seeing. I don't think he'll leave. I think he'll wait for a bigger job. But is Jamie Chadwell.
Yeah, Jamie Chadwell's going to be mentioned everywhere because he's a heck of a coach, and I don't think he has any real ties to Liberty, and he's got them at 12-0 in the regular season this year. Let's talk about the one other job that has been filled so far. That is Mississippi State. Got rid of Zach Arnett not even a year into his tenure. Let's face it, that team was god-awful. He shouldn't have been the coach in the first place. They've hired Jeff Lebby from Oklahoma, the OC there. This is my lowest grade. This is like a C- to me.
This is a little brother. We're thinking we're sticking it to Ole Miss by hiring Jeff Lebby. Move.
You're not though. That's the thing.
I know, but it's the weird. Like you want to talk about weird little brother syndrome? It's Mississippi State.
Because he was their former OC like 2 years ago. Like is that like they're gonna get mad about that? Like they've got Lane Kiffin, who is a better coach than Jeff
I don't see why Ole Miss fans would care about that, but they have some weird thing where like. They want to stick it to Ole Miss more than they just want to be good. I thought this was a panic hire. I thought they could have done a lot better.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm giving it an F, and here's the reason why.
So he's winning the Natty next year. Okay, all right.
So here's the reason why I'm giving it an F. Lebby is completely tainted with the Baylor stuff.
Yeah.
And is an Art Briles defender. And okay, fine. That's his father-in-law. So, maybe a little bit of family loyalty, but he was on the Baylor staff when the scandal took place. He was named by a student as one of the coaches who took no action against a player that physically assaulted them. So, and he's shown literally no remorse about it and continues to support Art Briles and would meet up with Art Briles on the field.
I think he'd be a good fit at Liberty.
Yeah. And then he ran a really good offense at UCF. Well, did he run the offense or did head coach Josh Heupel run the offense? Then he ran a good offense at Ole Miss. Well, did he run the offense or did Lane Kiffin run the offense? At his first real crack at being an offensive coordinator with a non-offensive coach was at Oklahoma under Brent Venables. And the Sooners fans wanted him fired. And when Mississippi State made this announcement, they all got down their hands and knees and praised Jesus because they are going to drive him to the airport. Well, they already did. Faster than you can ever guess. This guy was persona non grata in Norman, and it's a pretty big red flag that when you hire someone and the school you're leaving rejoices like they've just been liberated by the Nazis, it's not a good sign for you.
By the Nazis?
It's liberated from the Nazis, I said. Well, roll back the tape. Man might have to edit that one. But no, this is...
Redo that one.
I mean, this is the... this is the basically what Cincy experienced when they hired Scott Satterfield, where everyone in Louisville was like, oh, thank God. So we got to have the Scott Satterfield rule. If the school you're leaving is celebrating like it's Christmas Eve.
Oh God, you want to hear? It gets more
There,
weird.
you can
too.
use that re-edit right there, Matt. Or just leave it all in, and our fans will enjoy.
I think this is all getting left in.
Yeah. So Mississippi State, on the Mississippi State side of things, the fans gave new athletic director Zach Selman the shoulder ride, where they lift him up on the shoulders and like they hoist him and they're like, hey, you know. They carried him. They carried him pretty much off the plane on their shoulders. Like they were so excited. This is baffling.
It's strange. I don't get it. I mean,
I
all right, we need to keep moving on. Let's talk about the 3 Power 5 jobs that are currently available: Syracuse, Indiana, and Houston. Early reports said Dan Mullen was going to Syracuse. That is not true. Apparently, Dan Mullen has come out and said, I am not going to Syracuse. So the search for Dino's replacement comes, it still is on, and Jim Brown and Ernie Davis are not walking through that door for the Orange. Donovan McNabb not walking through that door, and so it's Syracuse, tough place to recruit to. Indiana, the Big Ten.
Dan Mullen, world-renowned recruiting apathetic coach, going to Syracuse made no sense.
Yeah, so Syracuse, Indiana, Houston. Houston got rid of Holgo for his general disregard for just sane coaching decisions, and Indiana got rid of Tom Allen because
your descriptions are great.
I don't know. Like, can they even do better than Tom Allen?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess. But out of these 3 jobs, which is the best one, Josh? Which is the worst one? And who do you guys like in these, filling these slots?
Okay. Well, the best one is Houston because they are going to throw a bag at somebody because they do not want to become bottom feeders in the Big 12. They did not join the Big 12 to become Nebraska of the Big 12. So that's probably going to be the best job. I do want to throw a name out for you, and this comes from, Fire Investigator 113 over on the CFB subreddit.
Oh.
They were doing something interesting.
Were they investigating arson?
No, they were investigating some interesting flights in and out of Bloomington.
Oh.
A private flight arrived in Bloomington from Dallas,
Gary Patterson.
which might have had Mark Cuban on, and the idea is that Mark Cuban is going to be kind of responsible for that huge buyout for Tom Allen. A private flight also arrived in Bloomington from Boca Raton a few hours later.
Okay.
And, well, if you want to connect these weird dots that this subredditor did, or this Reddit user
Howard
did,
Schnellenberger
I think he's dead. Dana.
It's like a Weekend at Bernie's thing.
No, Tom Herman.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Currently at FAU. You mentioned Gary Patterson. I've heard him connected to the Houston job.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
Cliff Kingsbury is somebody who's
no.
Does Jeff Traylor have a chance at this?
Apparently, what I've been reading is that UTSA is trying to move heaven and earth to keep him locked up, but he's going to be a hot commodity, man.
Yeah,
I personally think Jeff Traylor would have been the home run hire for Texas A&M.
The thing about Traylor that I've
in-state
heard, the scuttlebutt that I've heard about Traylor is he's an old school coach in that he works those players and really has no patience for shenanigans and some of the NIL stuff. And there was a cohort of the A&M booster community that were like, if we bring him on, all those 5-star recruits are peacing out. So who knows if that scuttlebutt is. I did want to read you guys a wonderful, wonderful quote. This came from when was this quote? Yeah, this quote was before the season started. Dana Holgerson gave this quote in the spring. He was asked about his hot seat, and this is what he told The Athletic. And I'll clean it up, Matt, so you don't have to edit it, but there is some swearing. So he was asked about this, and he said, "We won 20 games in 2 years. We won bowl games in back-to-back years. I have 5 years on my contract with a effing impossible buyout. So there ain't no effing hot seat in my mind. There just ain't." He didn't survive.
You're right. There isn't one because he's off the seat now because he ain't got it anymore.
It never got hot. It just exploded out from under him.
Yeah. I don't think he is a head coach again. I think he'll be a
He can't
offensive coordinator. He hated recruiting. He went to the Dan Mullen School of Recruiting.
And you can't succeed in 2024 now in college football if you're not going to recruit.
And if I'm Syracuse, I'll tell you who I'm hiring if I'm Syracuse. They had the right idea with Dino Babers getting an offensive mind back when they did it about 35 years ago when they hired him. Dome Stadium, use it to your advantage. Every home game is going to have perfect weather. Get a crazy air raid system and just do something very different than the rest of the ACC.
Yeah.
So, who's that person?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot out there that
I know who I want to see. I know who I want to see. I want to see Sean Lewis.
Yeah.
Was the OC there? Wide open offense.
Garrett Riley.
I think the the Western Kentucky.
Jason Candle, I think, is a good candidate for Indiana. Personally.
Yeah, Candle's a good candidate for Indiana. Indiana's also apparently had Jim Leonard in for talks as well.
Oh, I like that.
That would be interesting for them. All right, let's go to some group of five. Boise State is in the Mountain West title game, yet doesn't have a head coach because they fired Andy Avalos after going 22-14.
They needed to.
Yeah, you want to talk about persona non grata. You talk about Lebby in Oklahoma. I think Avalos at the same time in Boise was the same way. San Diego State there.
He didn't know how to game plan. You just look at some of their decision making, their game planning. Just good recruiter, loved the school and everything. But
hey, for Syracuse, what about Bobby Chesney from Holy Cross? That's a name that I'm seeing.
Holy Cross has been great the last couple of seasons. He's completely revitalized that program. That is not the worst idea I've heard in a while. What about Jim Mora Jr.? Pulling him from UConn. He's gotten them, better than where they were.
Yeah, injuries decimated them this year.
Chesney's picking up steam, and it's not Kenny.
Yeah.
Oh damn! Well, it's hard to go barefoot in the Syracuse winter.
I'm curious. So, Boise interim coach Spencer Danielson was their defensive coordinator the last few years. The defense was still good. He, got them undefeated under his watch. If they win the conference, win their bowl game, do you just say ease of transition? We've had success promoting from within. Maybe we just picked the wrong assistant with Andy Avalos. Is 4 or 5 games enough of a sample size to pull the interim tag? I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, if they rally around this guy, they win for him. Yeah. You worry about what I love to call the Bill Stewart effect when West Virginia hired Bill Stewart after Rich Rod left, and that was like the worst decision that they could have.
That was just one. Made. That was one bowl game.
That was true, but still,
I'm curious.
Larry Coker messed that up.
Chris Peterson, does he want to come back?
I don't think he wants to come back. I think he's done.
I've
heard
no way
he comes back for Boise State.
Yeah, I've heard rumors that Bronco Mendenhall is loving his retirement out in Montana, but also is not opposed to a coaching job that is near his.
I heard his name mentioned with Oregon
Montana?
State as well.
Yeah,
Bronco Mendenhall. That'd
be good.
That's interesting. I think there are a couple interesting names there. San Diego State in the same
Gary
conference.
Danielson interviewed for the
I mean, he's seen a lot of football. That's for darn sure. But
Spencer
San Diego State
Danielson
in the same conference. Brady Hoke riding off into the sunset. Tip of the cap to Coach Hoke. Enjoy your retirement, sir. Where do the Aztecs go from here?
I mean, they are, they were a school that almost got into the Pac-12. Next realignment, they are going to be a choice contender because they are in a massive media market.
Yep.
There's no reason why they can't be, be a big power conference school.
They've had success.
So I think this is a very, very, very attractive job for a lot of coaches out there. The MAC coaches looking for that next step up. We've already mentioned a few. The coordinator looking for that step up. What I would definitely avoid if I'm San Diego State is the retread, because they did that with Brady Hoke and it worked back in 2021.
So strike Ken Niumatalolo off the list.
But it went pretty downhill. So
I'm reading Tony White for that. Nebraska defensive coordinator. They interviewed him.
They've got great defense.
Washington OC Ryan Grubb.
Ryan Grubb would be a phenomenal hire.
Brendan Marion from UNLV, who's also rumored to be in line for the Arkansas OC job too.
Brendan Marion also, I've seen his name thrown around for the UTEP job as well.
Yeah.
So
that's where I think Marion ends up as UTEP.
So yeah, let's talk UTEP. UTEP Dana Dimmel out. Brendan Marion would be a good call there. It's really tough though to win in El Paso, Josh. I
would just merge the school with their arch rival a couple miles away. New Mexico State. We'll just call it UTEP and MSU and let Jerry Kill coach both programs. Problem solved right there.
I thought you were going to say their rival school, the Universidad de Ciudad Juarez, and
those two teams hate each other, by the way. New Mexico State and UTEP. That's so insulting. That'd be like if I said, "Hey, let's just merge Georgia and Georgia Tech." Like, both those fan bases are just cringing, being like, "Oh, I don't want to be obsessed with them." But yeah, tough job.
Jimbo Fisher.
Well, I was gonna say this is the type of job where you got to really get a good recruiter, someone that's going to be personable and win those rooms, because
I think Marion would be a home run. Scotty Walden from Austin P would be good. I think Zach Kinley from Texas Tech would be good.
That's the name I'm hearing. Yeah,
the name you just said with the governors. I think that's MTSU's first call.
Yeah. Jason Eck at Idaho.
That's an interesting one. Let's finish it out. MTSU let go Rick Stockstill after 18 years.
There's a certain offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech that was in Murfreesboro for 4 seasons.
Yeah,
had wins over Miami and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Buster Faulkner is definitely going to be on the short list for that job. The current Georgia Tech
stay tuned for that
coordinator.
Scotty Walden's got to be a candidate.
I was going to say the Illegal Motion podcast official endorsement for that job is Buster Faulkner. We will say that much. Not go too much further from that. MTSU, though, I think MTSU is a job you can win at. I think MTSU is a job where you have enough local talent that will get overlooked by, Tennessee, Alabama, sort of the SEC schools in the area, that you'll still be able to field a very competitive team. They have some history of winning. There is, enough resources, I feel like, in Murfreesboro to have a competitive team year in and year out in the conference. And, as far as the Group of 5 jobs go, it's definitely in the upper half of Group of 5 jobs, maybe in the upper quarter of Group of 5 jobs in terms of the ability to potentially win, have the backing of the institution, having the players. And so I think that this is going to be a coveted job, and I'd like to see Buster Faulkner get it, but I think that there's a lot of very, very good young. I think this is a place that, because they've had an old man voice there for so long, they're ripe for a young voice to come in and sort of kickstart a new era. So I'm curious to see which direction they go.
Yeah, that's why I don't think Glenn Ellerby's in there, Josh Ergel, because they want to go young. So I think Buster Faulkner or Scotty Walden are the names. Jerry Mack is somebody that you need to keep an eye on. He's Tennessee's running backs coach. He's just 43 years old as well. He's been at Delta State, Jackson State, Central Arkansas, Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think he's been around the block. But that's a dark horse. But I think it's going to come down to Walden, Scotty Walden, and Buster Faulkner.
All right.
The other thing about Middle Tennessee, I mean, they're obviously very patient. They gave him 18 years, but also if they hit a home run higher, 113 and 111, haven't won a conference in like 14 years, but.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, they're extremely patient, but he's done a lot of great things for that university.
But I was going to say, you've always got that bigger job, Memphis and Vandy, right in your own state where those jobs could open up. So if you do well, we would be remiss without saying though that back in 2021, Scottsdale did get Middle Tennessee State to our personal favorite bowl game, the Bahamas Bowl. We will always go to the Bahamas Bowl and cover it whenever their sponsor, Famous Toastery, wants to have us. We love the Bahamas Bowl. We don't want to necessarily do it this year because the stadium in the Bahamas is being remodeled, and the Bahamas Bowl will actually be played in Charlotte, North Carolina this year. But we are very excited in 2024 to go back to the Bahamas Bowl. And if you want to send us Famous Toastery to the Bahamas Bowl to do a live podcast at the Bahamas Bowl, we will gladly take that on. We have no problem going to Nassau in the middle of December.
The goal is the 2024 Bahamas Bowl. Here we come. Illegal Motion take over. Believe / Mike Farrell Sports take over.
If that happens, we do it all with our shirts off.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
On the beach.
Yes. I'm still wearing a hat, though.
Yeah.
Louisiana Monroe let go of Terry Bowden after three and a half, 4 years. Yeah. It was bad. It's just bad. Yeah. The team has just been bad. Like, they are just a bad football team. 3 years, 10 wins in 3 years. It's not good. It's not good. Monroe is not an easy place to win at either.
Whoa. We're gonna skip over NAIA powerhouse Southwest Assemblies of God University.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
They fired Greg Ellis after this. This is scoop season when I throw some ridiculous schools out there.
Oh, I love it.
I saw that. I was like, might be the most ridiculous school name that I've ever heard. But what's his name farted in a church pew? So there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Loudly. If you're looking for a job, you might want to go down to Dallas and check in at Northwest Assemblies of God, something like that.
Southwest Assemblies
of God, Northwest, Southwest. They're assembling for God and playing football in a lot of places in America. So super surprised about that. We'll have more Coaching Carousel coverage next time as some hires keep happening. For now, quickly though, gents, we've only got a couple minutes here left. Want to talk about some title games this weekend. Kicking it off in Atlanta.
You mean all of them? We're going to run through all of them real quick. Some of them we don't have much to say about.
Yeah, some we don't have much to say. Bama, Georgia, there's a lot to say, but at the end of the day, Coach, it really comes down to the fact that Bama is lucky to still be in playoff discussions because they should have lost to Auburn, but didn't. Georgia sleptwalk through at least half of that game versus Georgia Tech, but
let's just say all of it.
Much like an anaconda, they're still just going to strangle you with their defense. Coach, to me, this game really just comes down to seeing if because I think that Georgia's offense actually is the one that, I'm not worried about. I'm a little bit more worried about what are they going to do with Jalen Monroe, who's getting better and better every week as a passer and a smarter runner, even if he is running over the line, then running back behind the line of scrimmage to try to throw again and get a 5-yard penalty for doing so. Nonetheless, how do you see this game? Well, obviously, full preview on Believe in Dogs, where you need to be later this week with Corey and Israel Troop. But give us the Reader's Digest version.
The Reader's Digest version. Georgia 214, Bama -2. No, I know the whole Milroe thing, the thing that concerns me about him is the fact that we don't have a whole lot of experience at the inside linebacker position right now due to injury. Jamon Dumas Johnson is still out. Not sure if he's going to be back. Don't think he's going to be back. Be a hell of a recovery if he was. Smell Munden, CJ Allen, and Raylan Wilson are left to pick up the pieces there. They had a really tough go last week against Georgia Tech. Buster Faulkner really did a good job of picking on those guys and using the quarterback run game to do so. They had a lot of good, really well-designed runs for Haynes King. Look for that for Bamo and Jalen Milroe. I don't think they're going to do much on the perimeter. I think our secondary is going to be too tough of a matchup for them. Kamari Lassiter, Javon Bullard, Malachi Starks, just to name a few that are going to present problems for Jalen Milroe in the passing game. He may, if we can force him to make a few bad throws, errant throws into the hands of one of those three guys, or any guy back there really, but just one of those three guys will probably be more likely to get one. I think this could really open some things up for Georgia and really might make this thing lopsided a little bit. Defensive line, Stackhouse is obviously the guy. Warren Brinson coming back into the lineup is also some positive news for Georgia, but they still lack big-time star power. They're going to have a great game collectively, which when Georgia's defense is playing well, their defensive line is playing well collectively as a group. One guy has a bad game, the whole thing's thrown off. So if the front seven can kind of get on the same page with the run game, the back guys can do what they do best, and this will be another cruise for Georgia. But that a lot of things are going to have to happen defensively to be able to do that.
On the Big Ten, Josh, we've got.
I just want to say one thing with Georgia Alabama game. I don't know if this is like a theme that's going to happen throughout Kirby's career, but for this season specifically, Georgia really played down to the unranked competition they faced, but then just mollywopped every ranked team they have. So having that little number next to Alabama's name is probably the best thing that could have happened for Georgia's preparation.
It's a maturity thing, Josh. Honestly, it's when you have young, inexperienced, immature teams, that kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
So let's then move to the Big Ten. Josh, we've got my personal Big Ten Coach of the Year, Kirk Ferentz. Yes, he's getting my vote for Coach of the Year because if you win 10 games while scoring 220 points or something like that, like
218, I think
218 in the question.
Are you giving the Broyles to?
Phil Parker? If Phil Parker doesn't win the Broyles Award, like that is an absolute travesty.
It'll be because Mike Bobo won it.
No, that's like that. Phil Parker deserves every award going on his mantle. But Josh, the question is, can they do something to slow down Michigan, even if they don't have the signs?
Well, you hate to say that there's an injury that helped Iowa, but there was. Michigan lost a huge piece of their offensive line there with Zinter's injury. If they could get some pass rush, if they could get some, slow down that running game. The thing for Iowa is against Nebraska, first half, they had 4 trips inside the red zone. They scored 1 touchdown, made 1 field goal, and had 2 field goals blocked. If they stumble into a drive, if they have a punt return, if they have a muff punt, a turnover, something like that gives them a short field, they have got to actually score. And even if it's just field goals, like they got to score. The other thing that could happen is, this is an Iowa fan grasping at straws, but back in 2017, Ohio State gave to Iowa City. And for whatever reason, Ohio State pretended like they had never seen the tight end position before. And Noah Fant and Hawkinson went off. And Iowa beat them 55-24 because they basically kept calling the same play over and over and over again, which was have a tight end run right down the seam. If Brian Ferentz falls ass backwards into a play that works, I don't know what that play would be, and he just keeps running it over. It just keeps running it over and over and over again. maybe we do something. The fact of the matter is Michigan's defense is every bit as elite as Iowa's, but they have a competent offense. They are the healthier of the two teams. Iowa's down QB1, tight end 1, tight end 2. We have not gotten to have our best defensive lineman all season because of the stupid gambling thing. And our best all-around player, Cooper Jean, broke his leg as they were trying to get him touches on the offensive side of the ball. He got hurt doing an offensive play in practice and broke his leg. So Iowa is the less talented team, the incompetently offensive coached team, and the least healthy team. This is one of those games that you play it 100 times. Iowa probably loses 99 out of the 100. Maybe our universe, this is the one in the multiverse where we will win and we'll get to see some pandemonium. But I'm not expecting. I just hope as an Iowa fan, I hope we avoid what we did against Penn State earlier this year, which was a 31-0 shutout. I would be ecstatic if we lost the game 21-7.
Honestly, Josh, I think, as weird as it sounds, most people are like, yeah, Michigan's not going to have any trouble with Iowa, but I think there's a lot of things that Iowa does defensively that's going to give Michigan problems. I don't know that Blake Corum can go off rushing like he has against other teams. I think you're going to see a game that even if they pull away late because of depth and the fact that Iowa's offense can't get anything going ever would be the difference in this. But I think that you're going to see a game that looks a lot like that Maryland game that Michigan played.
That's what happened a few years ago. Is Iowa actually held up really well in the first half. Middle of the third quarter, Michigan had run about 30 more plays than Iowa, and we just were gassed. But c'est la vie, it happens. Mm-hmm. I'm just glad that for the rest of time, Iowa in perpetuity is the Big Ten West defending champion.
I mean, they deserve it. And that's all I'm going to say. Texas and Oklahoma State. Texas is the pretty decent favorite here, I would say, in this one, Coach. And Oklahoma State's a weird team this year, but they won Bedlam. They're in. Any chance that the Pokes knock off the Longhorns?
I mean, as weird as this team is and as weird as this season has been for them, yes, there is a chance that they knock off Texas, but I just don't see it. I think Texas sees they have the college football playoff in their sights. They want to give themselves the best chance. I think it's going to be Texas big, personally. I just, for a lot of reasons, most of them being that Oklahoma State can't seem to put two good games back to back.
Also, this just came across the wire as we're reporting, Coach, recording. Syracuse zeroing in on Fran Brown, Georgia defensive backs coach, as their next head coach.
Former Georgia defensive back.
Yeah, former Georgia defensive backs coach, Fran Brown.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing with the, Texas Oklahoma State game. Washington or Oregon, they got to be in. That seems like a lock.
The winner of that game's in.
Yeah.
Winner of that game's in.
I'll assume Michigan.
Yes.
Georgia, if they win.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Florida State or Texas. And
it's going to come down to style points with Texas and Florida State. If Texas beats the holy hell out of Oklahoma State, if they beat the Southwest Ministries of God out of Oklahoma State, I think they're going to go over Florida State. Florida State's got to do the same.
Yeah. Undefeated champion, Florida State has to get in.
You can't do that. And Florida State
they do, but are they gonna beat Louisville?
Yeah. So that's the thing. So this opens up the can of worms. Let's say Florida State lost their quarterback. Let's say Louisville pulls off the upset. Then you have.
Is it even an upset, or are they? I think they might be favored in this game. I haven't looked at the line. Yeah, they actually might be favored. But then Florida State 2.5-point favorite.
But then you have the argument of Texas versus Bama, and yeah, we know the head-to-head result, but that was months ago. So there's a possibility that SEC bias, which is real, if Alabama only loses by like a field goal, and everyone's like, oh wow, 28-27, this was the best game.
They don't get in with 2 losses.
No, you can't. They don't get in with 2 losses ahead of a Texas team that beat them in their house.
They don't get in with 2
because
losses.
as it stands right now, according
Bama has to win.
Per the committee's even said this. Texas's win at is the most impressive win for any team this season, and so
they haven't looked hard enough at that Iowa and Ames win.
Hey, listen, Farmageddon this year did not disappoint. Farmageddon, I think Iowa State scored 42 points and ran 0 plays in Kansas State's red zone.
That's all you need. They ran 35 total plays.
Yeah, and scored 42 points. That was a lot of fun.
Insane, dude.
What?
But I think we all think Texas is going to win that one against Oklahoma State.
Which means classic Gundy, when we expect him to do well, he disappoints. And when we've written him off, the mullet will do something.
Yes, he will. Let's just talk about the ACC game then quick, because we already mentioned it. Louisville, Florida State. Florida State did not look great. They beat Florida, but Tate Rodemaker is not Jordan Travis. And
that's
Louisville,
a tough ask in the swamp night rivalry game.
Louisville blew a game to Kentucky that they absolutely should have won, but decided to stop playing defense in the second half. And that wasn't a great watch. So Florida State's still the nominal favorite here, but I kind of think that Louisville has all the chance in the world to win this.
Yeah, I mean, see, here's the thing about Jeff Braun that was, tip of the cap to him. I'm so glad he's no longer at Purdue, but it felt like an Iowa fan that he always had our number. And I think that's because his offense, while it has certain set principles that you're going to get every game, he could tailor it for whoever he played. And that's why you saw great defenses at Iowa get burned by Purdue. You saw Ohio State struggle with Purdue's offense. Braun is going to have his set principles, but throw wrinkles in that Florida State is just not ready for. And, if Florida State's superior athleticism stops those plays from being, 2 or 3 yard gains versus 20-yard gains, then you have to like Florida State's chances. But Braun is going to have that team so well coached. I mean, you even saw it last year, even though Purdue got completely manhandled by Michigan, they still put up like 17 points in that game, and they still moved the ball at times. So, his style of play is just formidable no matter what. And thank God he's out of the Big Ten. I'm sick and tired of seeing him.
All right. Well, we are pretty much out of time, but we have 5 more group of 5 games. So we're going to try to knock all these out 30 seconds or less each. Starting SMU and Tulane. SMU was not messing around last week. They put up 52 in the first half against Navy to secure their spot to play Tulane in New Orleans. Tulane's a favorite here in this one, Coach. But personally, I am not counting out SMU in that offense.
No, Rhett Lashley's done a tremendous job with that offense. Obviously, they're just racking up the numbers. But Tulane is a tough team, tough physical team under Willie Fritz, and I look for this to be a really, really good game, honestly. And I'm taking Tulane, actually.
Yeah, it's over under 52.5 in this one, Josh, and I think I'm going over.
I'm taking Tulane in the over.
Well, they say defense wins championships. Tulane is bringing a really, really good defense with them. With all the faces back of Willie Fritz, I think we were kind of expecting Tulane to be an offensive power, basically doing what they did against USC every week this season. They haven't. They have a top 20 defense, giving up just 18 points per game. Defense wins championships. If Tulane's defense plays up to par, they'll win.
Under the radar, maybe the best power group of 5 game of the day is going to be Conference USA, New Mexico State and Liberty, undefeated Liberty. New Mexico State, coming in riding high, 2 weeks after, I should say, beating up Auburn at Auburn. Auburn, almost by the transitive property, New Mexico State's better than Alabama. Back-to-back weeks in the same stadium, they did much better against Auburn than Alabama did. This game, though, is just a fantastic matchup, Josh, on Friday night. Unfortunately, it's CBS Sports Network, which I don't get. But New Mexico State, Liberty, and Josh, what else is to say about Jerry Kill at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he just phenomenal coach. He's got a chance to do basically something that New Mexico State has never done. Even just getting them to back-to-back bowl games is really rare. They are keyed by their incredible quarterback, Diego Pavia, almost 3,000 passing yards. He should hit that mark because he's got this game in the bowl. He's also got 800 rushing yards. This team loves to run the ball. They average over 200 rushing yards per game, 12th best in the country. Their offense is okay, 28 points, but their defense has been pretty solid at just 19 points per game. Liberty, similar story. They love to run the ball. They are the number one rushing attack in the entire country at almost 300 yards per game. Quentin Cooley has 1,200 rushing yards on the season. They are sixth in points for. They are 21.7 points against. So New Mexico State, slightly better defense with two teams that love to run the ball. Obviously, whoever is more effective at getting that ground game going will win.
Yeah. Moving on to the MAC.
Give me the Killers, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, we're all rooting for the Killers. Come on. None of us like Liberty.
No, absolutely not. So in the MAC, Jason Candle's Toledo Rockets, who again just eviscerating competition left and right, finishing the year 11-1, taking on the Redhawks, Miami of Ohio, a team that we all thought was going to be pretty good this season, and they lived up to it. They are anchored by a truly stout defense. Should be one of the I don't think this game is going to be a super high scoring matchup, Coach, but what I will say that I've been really impressed with is Daquan Finn, who's the quarterback at Toledo. Mm-hmm. He's grown a lot this year as a passer. He's become way more efficient. He's about 7 percentage points higher this year than last year in completion percentage. Dropped his TD to INT ratio. It was up. It was about 2-1. Now it's at 3-1 this year. I've been really impressed with his growth this season. But there's a pretty good quarterback on the other side in Brett Gabbert, not Blaine Gabbert, but Brett Gabbert. He's been a little nicked up this year, but should be a pretty good quarterback battle there in the MAC, Coach.
Yeah, it should be. If you're an NFL scout, you should keep your eyes on this one. There's some potential for some good quarterbacks in this matchup. The term Maction is going to live up to its name. I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna get on the Toledo bandwagon for this game.
Yeah, it feels like Toledo, Josh. You got to lean.
Yeah, I mean, Brett Gabbert, got hurt in that Toledo game. He's out for the season. Hats off to Miami for winning 4 straight games without him. But the proof kind of is in their passing attack has gone quite down without him. They're 113th in passing now. They're pretty one-dimensional. They're getting by with the 8th best defense in terms of points against. But just Toledo's a different animal. I mean, you change a couple things in that Illinois game, and Toledo's 12-0 playing for the group of 5 representative for the major bowl game.
Yeah, and that would be something. Candles, obviously his name's come up with a bunch of jobs around. Okay, 2 more games. Fun Belt. Appalachian State versus Troy. Kind of what we thought it was going to be during the year. Troy took a dip in the middle of the year, but they've come back strong, finished the season out well. Appalachian State, they're always in it. Coach, I mean, I can see it going either way. Troy, I still feel like has a little bit more talent, but App State, I will never count App State out in any game that they're in. To me, yes, Troy's a favorite. They have a better record, but this game is as much of a toss-up as anyone this weekend.
Yeah, this game is probably one of the tougher ones to predict because both teams are very, very equal in what they do. Obviously, Troy's got the talent, but App State's got the coaching. App State's got the gamer mentality, and they just come out and get it done. physical team. I mean, does everything well. Doesn't really beat themselves a lot, but yeah, I'm gonna stick on the App State train. I've kind of always stuck on that train, so I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, I like Troy here. I think Troy's has more athletes and has a better chance to break off, Coach, your favorite thing, some chunk plays against Appalachian State. So give me the Trojans here, and
Yeah. Well, two great quarterbacks at this game: Joey Aguilar for App State, and Troy's Gunnar Watson. What a great name for a quarterback! No slouch either. But there's a statistical anomaly in this. Troy's defense, 10th in the country points against. I think they just shut him down.
Yeah, not a bad call there at all. Mountain West. Boise State without a real head coach versus UNLV with one hell of a real head coach in Barry Odom. Barry Odom should be on the short list for any National Coach of the Year. With what he's done in just one season there, out in the desert. Josh, I mean, this would be a dream season if the Runnin' Rebs were able to cap it off with the Mountain West title.
Rebs by a mile.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that UNLV kind of stubbed their toe and made things interesting with San Jose State loss. Hats off to San Jose State. It's an incredible run. But UNLV, a really, really solid offense. Rushing only 55th, passing only 55th, rushing only 26th, but very balanced. It works out to over 35 points per game, which is top 20. This is just a team you don't want to get in a shootout with because they have a whole bunch of different weapons to throw at you, including their amazing receiver, Ricky White, 1,300 receiving yards on the season. Go Rebs. They're our sentimental pick.
Yeah, I think we're all rooting for the Rebs this week, and I can't believe it, but here we are. I think we're all rooting just for we're rooting for him. We're rooting for Barry Odom. We're rooting for the Rebs. We're rooting for that program to get back on the right foot because they were down for a long time. They were down for a long, long time. Trying to be the college version of Bishop Gorman just wasn't working, and good for them to get in to where they are. So we're going to wrap it up here for the show. We'll be back again very soon with more coaching news, etc. Like always here, keeping our pulse on college football. We'll have a bunch of bowl specials coming up and a whole lot more. So we appreciate everyone tuning in to the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast on the Believe Network and MikeFarrellSports.com. Until next time, he is our offensive coordinator in the Music City, the coach, Corey Burton. He is our intrepid blogger from Big Tech and Counting, Josh Cook, up there in Chicago, Illinois. I'm Matt Perkins in the Music City saying so long and see you next time on the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast.
Go Pack.